But I've never heard this arrangement before.
I think there's like 4 8 measures that are good. One or the other. It should be on there.
Number, whatever.
So it's after the drum beats survive themselves.
Time is on my feet when I walk the golden hall. Two faces looking back at me, candlelight and I can see.
That's it. Picnic, and some robot is flexing his muscles, and some robot is like putting on like robot sunscreen, and they're and robots in this world, like robots have enslaved humans, and humans are bringing them drinks on the beach. Nice. And that's the world of robots, sir.
Was that the song?
I think it's the futuristic.
Silicone waves, human slaves, waxing up my board. Robot turn, robot turn. Transistor beat, robot beat.
Waxing up my board.
Robot turn, robot turn. Woo! Metal bed, turn bed. Wind in my blade. Robot turn.
Stepped into my capsule late in the night. I stole a pair of silver wings to aid my secret flight. Now I've left my chair to swelter underneath the shroud. Now I can breathe again and fly above the clouds.
If I stay here long enough, I know the peace will bloom. It wouldn't be such a lonely orbit if Venus had a moon.
Oh, I remember when it comes back around. It's like dreaming like a symphony.
Oh, yeah.
Yo, she had a laptop for the work.
Oh, here's the instrument.
I
evil sleeps in pink pajamas. My evil twin is really starting to get on my nerves. She showed up about a week ago, and ever since then she's been nothing but trouble. I didn't believe her at first, of course. There's just something a bit implausible about your mirror image suddenly materializing in your bathroom and claiming to be from an alternate dimension. You don't have a goatee, I said, poking her hairless chin, like in Star Trek. I'm a girl, she huffed, swatting my hand away and smoothing back her shiny brown hair that I thought actually might be a little shinier than mine. So why should I think you're my evil twin? I asked her. Because I'm your twin, she snapped, and I'm evil. Then she poured my $55 bottle of French perfume down the drain and ran out of the bathroom. That was pretty bitchy, I decided, definitely bordering on evil. I hated her instantly, but I still couldn't bring myself to simply toss my twin out onto the streets, evil or not. So now she's sharing my apartment and sleeping in my guest room. I thought that evil never sleeps, but apparently she does, in pink pajamas. That's how I really know she's evil. I hate pink. She immediately started screwing up my life on a regular basis. She put my delicates into the dryer on the heavy cycle. She squeezed the toothpaste tube from the middle. She used the last piece of toilet paper and didn't put on a new roll. She stocked my fridge with a diet soda, for God's sake. Everyone else seemed to think that my evil twin was terrific. My mom kept asking me to bring her around for dinner sometime. I kept trying to explain about the evil part, but all I got was a breezy response about how I used to carve my names into the spines of library books when I was a kid, and gosh, didn't I still turn out okay. My boyfriend's reaction, however, had to be the worst. The moment he laid eyes on her, I could see the wheels spinning in his perverted little head. Wheels greased with erotic lesbian twins. Oh, it does sound like hey! Well, I told him that he could just forget about it. And if he wanted it from her, then he wasn't getting it from me. She started spending her evenings lounging around on my couch in her pink pajamas, more like pink lingerie, really, and casting seductive glances at my boyfriend. So I became some sort of hyper-jealous Nancy Drew type, sniffing around for clues that he was screwing around on me. And the worst part was, whenever I found a hair on his clothes, I had no idea whether they were hers or mine. 2 days ago, I wasn't feeling well, so I stayed home from work. And then yesterday, when I went back into the office, what did I find? Everyone was looking at me like I had two heads, because apparently my evil twin had come in pretending to be me and belted everyone with silly string and dirty limericks. It was so weird, the woman who sits on the desk next to mine told me. It was like you'd suddenly gone completely insane, like you were a totally different person. I'll bet she was wearing pink, I muttered, and didn't stick around to find out whether or not I'd been fired. So I stewed for an entire 24 hours trying to decide how to go about kicking her out on her evil behind. I finally decided that I needed to just toss all of her stuff out onto the streets and change the locks, a clean, old-fashioned eviction, when I arrived home and found her in the living room with my boyfriend. They were doing the evil horizontal mambo on my fake curtain rug. I screeched, an almost involuntary reaction to what I'd seen, and that's when I realized that she was wearing my pajamas, my midnight blue flannel nightshirt. My boyfriend may be a moron, but he's not a cruel moron, and when he looked up at me, I could tell from the expression on his face that he thought my evil twin was me. As for her, she was grinning from ear to ear, sitting on top of my boyfriend and looking better than I do in that blue nightshirt. Unable to stand the sight of her shiny brown hair, I ran out of my apartment and slammed the door behind me, ignoring the anguished cries of my incredibly stupid boyfriend. I just had to get out of there, and so I took the stairs 2 at a time back down to the parking garage, where I finally locked it and screamed to the top of my lungs. An elderly man who had just gotten out of his car looked terrified and darted back inside. "Go back where you came from," I yelled, to no one in particular, and when I kicked the car that was nearest to me, my steel-toed Doc Martin made a dent in the driver's side door. It hurt my foot, which pissed me off even more, so I kicked it again. That's when the alarm went off and I realized it was a Mercedes. Thinking that this had probably not been the smartest course of action, I darted across the garage and got back into my car. Backing out, I hit a Lexus. Another alarm blared. I could still hear them as I peeled out of the garage. I had no plans, but I was still boiling with anger, and all I knew was the very first thing that I had to do. Half an hour later, I was sitting in one of those pump-up black leather chairs with one of those itchy black robes draped over my chest. A hairstylist loomed over me with an indulgent smile and asked, "What for you today?" "Make me blonde," I said, ignoring it, looking in the mirror and setting my jaw. The stylist blinked. "How blonde do you mean? I'm not sure that a light shade would really suit your..." "Anna Nicole blonde," I interrupted. "Pamela Anderson blonde. Billy Idol blonde." The stylist shifted uncomfortably on her feet, but simply nodded and started to brush out my hair. I could almost hear her repeating in her head about how the customer is always right. When I drove back to my apartment an hour or so later, I looked absolutely nothing like her. My boyfriend was sitting outside the door to my apartment. When he saw me, at first he seemed relieved, but then he blurted, "You look ridiculous." I've never really liked him that much anyway. "Is she still in there?" I asked, and when he nodded, I wanted to hit him, but figured I'd done enough damage for one day. "Oh hey," he added, pulling himself to his feet. "Someone came by to warn us about some chick that was psycho in the parking garage or something." Apparently there was a witness, and they got her license plate number, so the cops should be here soon. I paled. "Oh shit," I said. As if on cue, 2 policemen stepped out of the elevator and walked right up to us. They peered at my apartment number, and then held out a Xerox copy of my driver's license picture. "Does she live here?" one of them asked. I stared at the shiny brown hair in the photo. Then I pointed to my door. "Yeah, she's inside." My boyfriend just stared at me in horror as I let the policeman into my apartment, but at least he kept his mouth shut as they dragged out my evil twin a few minutes later. She was kicking and biting and screaming, "I'm not her, I'm her evil twin." I figured she'd be in a mental hospital by morning. When my boyfriend finally left, for good, I'd informed him, I went back into my apartment, cleaned all the diet soda out of my fridge, and gathered up the pink pajamas and tossed them into the trash compactor. Then I pulled on my blue flannel nightshirt and settled in front of the television with a beer. I was feeling kind of evil. The end.